Hi everyone, this is Laura and welcome to another Hero Arts video. Today we'll be learning how to create texture on a single layer card by creating a dimensional butterfly and an embossed edge like the one shown here. To get started, we'll want to create the background of our card, and to do that we'll take a piece of scrap paper and trim a rectangle out of the middle of it to create a frame, or what we'll call a mask. As you can see, that will go on the front of our card and we'll ink the edges to create the background. And I call it a mask because we are masking the ink from going onto areas of the card where we don't want it to go. So you'll want to start by placing your mask onto the center of your card, and I'm going to use a little bit of dry adhesive just so that I can keep it in place when I'm inking to get nice clean edges. We'll be using some chalk ink and some sponges. I've cut these wedges from a round sponge. Chalk inks work great for backgrounds because they usually blend well and give a nice soft look. I'm using the primary cue here, and I'll be using the green for the ground and the blue for the sky. You can dab some ink on your sponge, and then in small circles you can blend the ink from the edges in onto the front of your card. And we're working from the edges because we want the ink to be the darkest there, and then to lighten as it goes into the center. You don't need to press down too hard. Just work until you get it the way that you like it. And then for the ground we'll be using green, and we'll also be pressing just very lightly with that ink because we'll be stamping a sentiment down there in a little bit in the same color. We want to make sure that that shows through. Once you're done inking, you can lift off your mask and you will see a beautiful background. You can remove any of the temporary adhesive that might be on the front of your card. And next we'll stamp the butterfly. I'll be using pink chalk ink, and one option you could have is you could have actually stamped off your butterfly first and then created a mask and inked around that. So I'm showing you that here. That's not what I chose to do because my background is very light, and so my butterfly will stamp on top of it just fine and still look pretty good. I'm angling the butterfly and having one wing slightly off of the edge. You can see it's a little bit pinker in that one corner, but I'll fix that in a minute. And I just like the way that it looks coming off of that edge. Next we'll stamp the trail of the butterfly. And I'm using the trail stamp from the Designer Butterfly Clear Design set. You can take a piece of scrap paper and just mask off the right edge, and you're using the blue chalk ink for this, just so that when you do stamp your trail it doesn't go onto the pretty white part of the background that we made. Then I'll be using the Just Saying Hello sentiment for the bottom. I love this new set from Hero Arts. It has about every sentiment you could possibly want for a card in it. And you'll stamp on the bottom part of your inked rectangle, and you'll press pretty firmly here because you want to make sure that that sentiment will show. To make the dimension for your wings, you'll actually trim with a craft knife around each wing, and you'll leave the center part attached so that will stay to the card. Then you can lift up the wings on either side to create that dimension. Two things I'd tell you about this process. One, it is very helpful to have a very sharp craft knife, and two, you can do what I'm doing here and rotate the paper versus rotating your hand when you're trying to trim around an object. It makes it a little bit easier. And it'll give you a smoother cut. You can pop up one wing And now we will fix that one edge that's a little bit pinker than the rest. And I'll just take the sponge I used to do the blue background of the sky and just dab that onto that one edge. And add a little bit of ink so it blends in a little better. You can repeat to add dimension to the second wing, and then you'll want to add some gemstones. These are great tiny 2mm gemstones from Hero Arts, and I'll count out 4 of them and trim after 4 and lift it up with my craft knife, and I can just set that right down in the middle. Once that's done, it is time to create the embossed border around your card. You can also add your gemstones later. These were small gemstones, so they won't be impacted by what we're going to do next. I'm using a small light box here and some wax paper that helps to just smooth out the paper for when you're embossing. It just makes your stylus work a little better on the paper. I'm taking a rectangle that's about 1/8 of an inch larger on all sides than my inked image, and I'll place that on the front of my card, flip my card over, and place it on the light box. I'm using a light box so I can see through my card to know where to emboss with the stylus tool. And I can see those inked edges and place it so that the rectangular scrap underneath is equal on all sides. And I'm taking the stylus tool. You could also use a pointed wooden stick, or you could use a bone folder to do this. But the stylus tools work really nice because they're metal and they glide pretty smoothly. So you can go across all the edges, and then when you lift up your card and look at the front, you'll have a beautiful embossed border. You can go ahead and pop the wings back up of your butterfly, and your card is complete. Thank you for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you next time.